Thanks for coming back to our channel. People generally think of Freddie Mercury's booming voice or Brian May's amazing guitar melodies when they hear the name Queen. But John Deacon, the skilled and quiet bassist, was an important part of the band's success, even if he was always in the spotlight. Deacon was not simply a great bassist, but he was also a musical genius and a silent planner who worked behind the scenes. But why did someone who once wowed the world with timeless songs choose to live in seclusion after reaching the top of his career? Brian May, who was with Deacon throughout Queen's career, recently wrote about how he felt about this decision. This is more than just a story of withdrawal, it's an emotional journey. One that weaves together friendship, sorrow, and personal conflicts to show what a complicated but real artist he is. In this post, we'll talk about John Deacon's life, from when he was a kid who loved music to when he reached the top of his career and then chose to live away from the spotlight. Have you ever thought about what made John Deacon, the man who wrote songs like Another One Bites the Dust, so great? Should leave the stage discreetly. Come with us as we learn more about this unknown hero. John Deacon was born on August 19, 1951, in Leicester, England, to a working-class family. Deacon had a strong love for music and a natural interest in technology from a young age. Deacon took apart technological items and figured out how they worked on his own while his friends were outside playing. His childhood was mostly quiet, but this calmness helped him grow his inventiveness. He started playing the guitar when he was young, teaching himself in the lonely evenings of his modest room. As a teenager, Deacon joined a local band and rapidly became known for both his musical talent and his ability to swiftly figure out how to use sound equipment. Deacon was good at more than just music. He was also quite good at school. He went to Chelsea College of Science and Technology and graduated with honors in electronics engineering. When he joined Queen, he brought a fresh perspective to the band, not just as a musician but also as a technological inventor who helped give the band's sound its own unique character. Even though he was modest and shy, Deacon often astonished people by being able to connect art and technology. In his early years, he not only worked on his skills, but he also laid the groundwork for becoming an important element of Queen's greatness. This is how John Deacon's story starts. A young man who loves to explore and is laying the groundwork for his career in music and technology. Gradually turning into a musical genius who was quiet. So, what made him famous and took him to Queen? A key event in 1971 marked the start of that trip. Career journey with Queen. John Deacon joined Queen in 1971, while the band was still looking for the last member to complete its lineup. At the time, Deacon was a modest, humble young man. No one could have guessed that he would become one of the most important people in the band's success. From the first time they met him, the other members knew he was different. Deacon was calm and sharp, both musically and strategically. This was different from Freddie Mercury's flamboyance, Brian May's aggressiveness, or Roger Taylor's explosive nature. Deacon wasn't only a bassist in the beginning. He was also a technical inventor with a lot of imagination. One of his first jobs was to design the DC amp, a music amplifier made from old parts. Brian May used this technology to make Queen's famous layered guitar sounds, which gave the band's music a unique sound. Deacon was a big impact on Queen's music since he was always coming up with new ideas. Even though he typically operated silently behind the scenes. John Deacon was a great songwriter in addition to being a technical support person. From the band's first albums, he showed that he could write songs that were not only catchy but also popular with fans. One of his first songs, You're My Best Friend, became a well-known song that was intimately linked to Queen's image. The song was a sincere tribute to his wife, and it showed how well Deacon could mix pop and rock elements. There is little doubt that Another One Bites the Dust was Deacon's best song. The song became a worldwide smash because of his love for funk and soul. The strong and interesting bassline attracted to more than just rock enthusiasts, it also had a big effect on the disco scene. The song's unexpected popularity made Deacon a well-known figure in Queen and in the history of music around the world. Deacon also helped keep the band balanced and stable, which was very important. He was a big part of the decision to cut connections with Queen's management company, Trident, when the band was having money problems in their early years. This brave step opened the door for the organization to be more innovative and have more money. Deacon was known for being careful and having keen analytical skills. He helped Queen get through tough financial times and set up a solid foundation for long-term prosperity. People in the band often saw him as the peacemaker, trying to calm down arguments amongst members. John Deacon was actively involved in every step of Queen's journey, even though he didn't often show up in public or give interviews. His contributions were small but important. They ranged from albums like A Night at the Opera, which featured the famous song Love of My Life, to The Game, which used new current musical elements. In addition to playing bass, Deacon also played rhythm guitar, keyboards, and even sang backing vocals at some shows. He was constantly willing to try new things to make the band's music better. Deacon's time with Queen isn't just a narrative of skill, it's also a story of hard work and dedication. He didn't need to be in the spotlight to make a lasting impression because he was shy. He didn't just play music, he also helped with strategy, thoughtfulness, and caring for his bandmates. John Deacon may not be as well known as Freddie Mercury or Brian May, but his work with Queen is an important aspect of the band's legendary position. John Deacon and Freddie Mercury had a special friendship. They weren't just bandmates, they were two people with very different but complementing personalities who were very close. Mercury was confident and brave, whereas Deacon was shy and liked to stay in the background and watch. This disparity is what made their connection special, and it helped both of them become better versions of themselves. Freddie Mercury constantly told John Deacon to try new things and see what he could do with his compositions. Mercury always made sure that Deacon had chances to show off his secret potential, even though he didn't say much. Mercury always liked Deacon's songs, like You're My Best Friend and Another One Bites the Dust. Mercury helped Deacon improve his ideas by using his creative mind to transform them into works of art that will last forever. They weren't just musical partners, they were also real friends. Mercury's bright and energetic personality seemed to balance out Deacon's quiet and careful personality. Mercury was the one who pushed Deacon out of his comfort zone when things were tough, but he also protected him from outside influences. Mercury could trust Deacon, and vice versa. Especially in private, sensitive times when he couldn't tell many others about them. But everything changed in 1991 when Freddie Mercury died. Queen lost a lot when Mercury died, and John Deacon lost a lot of passion as well. He felt an empty space in his heart that could never be filled after losing his best friend. Mercury was more than just a partner. He was someone who had a huge impact on Deacon's life and work. Deacon lost a close buddy and the reason he kept making music after Mercury died. Deacon tried to keep on when Mercury died, but he quickly recognized that things had changed without his friend. He worked on a few tribute projects, such as the single No One But You and the album Made in Heaven. The good only die young. But every time he worked without Mercury, he felt more and more empty. These endeavors were his way of saying goodbye to an important part of his life and honoring his late companion. The choice to back out. John Deacon officially left Queen and the music business in 1997 after writing the tribute song No One But You, Only the Good Die Young, with Roger Taylor and Brian May. This move shocked the world, but for Deacon, it was the only option to insulate himself from the deep mental grief that Freddie Mercury's death brought him. Brian May, Deacon's longtime friend and collaborator, said that this choice had nothing to do with any problems inside the band and was completely based on Deacon's urge to find serenity. May reportedly said that John Deacon was very sensitive to the stress and pressures that come with being famous. He had trouble with the media's attention and criticism for years. Freddie Mercury often protected Deacon when he was alive, giving him a shield that let him focus on the music. But after Mercury died, Deacon seemed to lose his best source of support. The loss not only took away from the music, but also from Deacon's sense of stability, making it hard for him to go on. Brian May said that Mercury's death was a huge shock for all the band members, but they all dealt with it in their own ways. May took comfort in music projects and science, and Roger Taylor dealt with his sadness by penning songs. Deacon, on the other hand, opted to completely retreat. May said that Deacon's retreat was a means for him to protect himself and keep his happy memories of Mercury and Queen without having to deal with the stress of performing, which he could no longer handle. Since he stopped working, John Deacon has lived a quiet life, staying out of the public eye and the news. He hasn't been to any Queen-related events, like big concerts and movie premieres like Bohemian Rhapsody in 2018. Deacon has still had a particular connection to the band, though. Brian May said that Deacon still has to approve of big choices on Queen's legacy, especially ones that have to do with money and strategy. For example, Deacon gave his permission for the movie Bohemian Rhapsody to be made through middlemen. This shows that he still wants to protect what Queen accomplished together. May has also said that it would be very hard for John Deacon to come back if he ever wanted to. Since Deacon retired, the music and entertainment industries have changed a lot, and he might not be able to handle the stress of today's society. May has always made it clear that everyone in Queen respects Deacon's decision, though. May responded, "We love John and always will, but this is how he wants to live, and we have to respect that." Roger Taylor agreed with this, saying that Deacon was a quiet, solitary man who stayed away from social situations on purpose to keep the peace he had been looking for a long time. May and Taylor both say that Deacon's choice to leave Queen was not an abandonment, but a method for him to keep his own values and memories of Mercury alive. John Deacon is still an important part of Queen's heritage, even though he doesn't say anything. He was the quiet architect behind many of the band's accomplishments and still has a say in important choices, even if he doesn't show up in public anymore. Brian May does not see Deacon's withdrawal as a failure. Instead, he sees it as proof of Deacon's commitment to Freddie Mercury's memory and respect for the principles that Queen developed together. Personal life: John Deacon was a very important member of Queen, but he always kept his personal life private. He made sure to keep his music profession apart from his personal life, even when Queen was at the height of their glory. Above everything else, Deacon put his family and personal life first. This not only showed that he was an introvert, but it was also his way of keeping celebrity and his personal ideals in harmony. John Deacon married Veronica Tetzlaff in 1975, while Queen's career was just starting to take off. Veronica, a teacher and a down-to-earth woman, was always there for Deacon during the band's rough times. Their marriage is one of the few long-lasting, serene love tales in show business. Even though Queen was usually on tour, Deacon always tried to spend time with his family. He always went back home when he could, putting his obligations as a husband and father ahead of his career as a rock star. Michael, Robert, Laura, Joshua, Luke, and Cameron were the couple's 6 children. Deacon didn't talk to the press about his family very often. He did this partially to protect their privacy and also because he thought Queen's fame shouldn't disrupt their life. Friends and co-workers said he was a caring father who taught his kids realistic principles and humility instead of allowing them get caught up in the glitzy world of music and entertainment. John Deacon left the public eye in 1997 and spent much of his time with his family. He picked a quiet life in London, away from the public eye. Even though he was very rich because of Queen's success, Deacon and his family lived a simple and unassuming life, focusing on what was important and lasting. He spent a lot of time taking care of his family and doing things he liked, including reading, playing sports, and working on electronics. A love he had grown since he was a child. One thing that stands out about Deacon's personal life is how loyal he is to the people he cares about. Many of his friends and co-workers said he was a dependable buddy who was always ready to help. His connection with Brian May and Roger Taylor, while not as close as it used to be, stayed strong through talks regarding Queen-related projects from time to time. Deacon has always been willing to give his thoughts or counsel when needed, even though he is no longer directly involved. Deacon has been almost completely out of the public eye in the past few years. He has stayed away from big events, turned down interviews, and even said no to taking pictures with admirers. The excellent artist who always wanted peace has become even more mysterious because of this stillness. Deacon didn't leave the spotlight because he was abandoning it, he did it to protect what he valued most: his family, happy memories of Queen, and a life free of the stress of celebrity. Even though he lives alone, John Deacon's legacy is still an important part of music history. He left a lasting impression not only as an artist, but also as proof that you can be successful without ruining your personal life. The picture of John Deacon as a modest, but gifted man who was a dedicated parent and humble will always remind fans of commitment and humility. John Deacon was a great bassist and songwriter, but he was also a silent planner who helped Queen become successful. He was a stabilizing factor for the band for many years, linking the members and helping them not only with his music but also with important financial and strategic decisions. In the flashy world of music, where disobedience and big personalities are typically praised, his humility, commitment, and introverted nature set him apart. But after Freddie Mercury died and the attention became too much for Deacon to handle, he chose another path because of these same traits. He didn't leave to get away, he did it to protect himself and keep the most essential things in his life. Deacon knew that music was more than just a job for him, it was a part of the personal relationships he valued. He had a strong tie of friendship, respect, and love with his bandmates, especially Mercury. He is a figure of modest determination and a hero who worked behind the scenes yet had a huge effect on people all around the world. For fans, John Deacon is more than simply an artist. He is proof that sometimes the best way to keep greatness is to stay quiet and step aside. John Deacon's tale is an inspiring one about how to balance popularity and personal values. He shows that success doesn't just come from what happens on stage, it also comes from the silent work that goes on behind the scenes. Even if he is no longer in the spotlight, his legacy will live on via the timeless songs he wrote. What do you think of this amazing but mysterious artist named John Deacon? Please leave a remark on what you think about his work with Queen and the musical legacy he left behind. Don't forget to like and subscribe to keep up with our exploration of the amazing stories of musical superstars. Thanks for viewing. We'll see you in the future video. Bye.